If you leave a conversation feeling uneasy or insecure, stop. This isn't random. It's a red flag to pay attention to. But the real clues are in what was said. The words, the tone, even the topics. And once you know how to spot them, you can see a narcissist coming a mile away. I've spent the last 20 years researching self-worth and narcissistic relationships. As a coach, author, and survivor, I teach simple systems to empower you against manipulation. In this video, I'll show you 5 simple clues to spot a narcissist in conversation and how to respond so you don't get pulled into their game. The first clue to spotting a narcissist in conversation is the dominance of self-centered topics. The dialogue always circles back to them. They tell stories where they're a hero to admire or a victim to pity. The conversation becomes their stage and you're just there as the audience. When you're someone who cares, this can be hard to spot. You listen when people share their struggles and you're glad for their wins, and before you know it, the whole conversation can become about them. I remember one family member who told the same story every holiday about how cruel her mother was on her deathbed. I'd nod, waiting for the moment where I could also share that I had a mom that had done a similar thing. But the moment never came. Year after year, it was just the same story. She wasn't interested in getting to know me. I was just supposed to be the audience to listen. When you're stuck in a one-sided conversation, use the probe and pivot method. It's a quick way to see if the other person can shift the focus or if they can't. Start with a simple question like, would you like to hear about my experience with that? If they shift, great. You've opened the door to a real conversation. If they brush past it and keep talking about themselves, that's your cue to pivot. Step out of the conversation with something polite but firm, like, I'm going to step away now, or I'll leave it here for today. By the way, if you want help assessing the level of risk you're dealing with, I've created a free narcissist protection checklist. It's quick, powerful, and there's a link in the description below. The second clue to spotting a narcissist in conversation is how quick they are to criticize or pass judgment. It's one of the fastest ways they assert dominance. You'll hear dismissive comments or outright judgments about coworkers, family, neighbors, or even about you. They hide it under the guise of being blunt or just honest, but it's not about opinions, it's about making others feel small so they can feel big. For empathetic people, this is easy to miss because we want to connect. We might excuse those kind of remarks or downplay them instead of calling out the rudeness. But sometimes the red flag is so glaring. It might sound like a mother mocking her 10-year-old daughter for gaining weight, or someone casually tearing down a friend the moment they leave the room, or a date sneering about their ex within the first 5 minutes. This kind of talk is contempt, and contempt is central to narcissism. It's how they rank themselves above everyone else. By cutting others down, they feed their own sense of superiority. When you hear this, you're seeing narcissism in action. When someone comes at you with criticism or judgment, use the acknowledge and test method. It keeps you steady and shows you exactly who you're dealing with. First, acknowledge without agreeing. A simple I see or that's one way to look at it keeps you neutral. Then test for empathy. Ask, how do you think that would have made them feel? Or have you ever done something like that? Their reaction tells you everything. A healthy person will pause, reflect, maybe even soften. A narcissist is going to deflect, dismiss, or double down. You can also try a gentle redirect, something like, what's something good that happened to you recently? If they can't shift gears, that's another sign. If nothing changes, you don't stay and argue. You just step out clean. You can say something like, we see this differently, I'm going to leave it here. The third clue to spotting a narcissist in conversation is unsolicited advice. It looks like concern, but it isn't. What it's really doing is setting up a hierarchy where they're the authority and you're the novice. You'll hear lines like, you should really quit that job, it's not good for you. Or don't waste your money on a therapist, just start journaling. Or you should stop taking that medication, it's bad for you. This isn't about solving your problem. It's about creating a dynamic where you're in the position of needing their guidance. What's confusing is the narcissist is going to speak with a lot of confidence, not because they understand, not because they know better, but because they use confidence as a tactic to manipulate. And this is why you hear it in conversations so often. Advice is one of the fastest ways to establish dominance without looking aggressive. It dresses up control as help, so on the surface, it feels generous, but underneath, it's a power play designed to make you doubt your judgment and lean on theirs. When you get hit with unsolicited advice, the first thing to remember is that it's not really about helping you. It's about dominance, disguised as concern. So here's how to handle it. Start by checking in with yourself. Ask yourself, does this advice actually leave me in a better space, or does it knock me down a peg? That quick gut check is going to tell you what's really going on. Then redirect with a simple line. I use, it's definitely nuanced. That way you acknowledge what they say without handing them authority. And finally, watch what happens next. A healthy person will let it go, but a narcissist will keep pressing because the goal was never to help you. It was to stay on top. The fourth clue is the relentless battle for airtime. With a narcissist, conversation isn't about sharing. It's about dominating the floor. They interrupt, talk over, and flood the space with their words. By making sure their voice is the loudest and the most constant, they push yours out completely. What you'll notice is simple. One person does almost all the talking. They leave no space for your thoughts, and when you do try to speak, they're going to cut you off or try to bulldoze you. You'll see it in settings that are supposed to be collaborative. A meeting turns into a one-person show. I've been in situations where I even ended up raising my hand like I was in school just to try to squeeze in a thought. This kind of airtime competition is deliberate. It keeps the attention locked on them, feeds their ego, and tests whether they can dominate you. Every interruption is less about the subject and more about proving that they hold the power. When you're facing a conversational steamroller, the goal is to reclaim space without getting pulled into a shouting match. First, pause and take a breath so you don't react on their terms. Then slip in a question like, can I add a perspective here? Or I have some thoughts, may I share? That small interruption signals that you're not willing to be silenced. Next, assert your point. I think it's important that we consider all sides and then include your point. By doing this, you're showing that your voice belongs in the conversation. So here's the test. A healthy person will welcome that. A narcissist is going to dismiss, bulldoze, or double down. If they won't make space no matter what you do, that tells you who you're dealing with, and it's your cue to step back or walk away. The final clue is a bizarre sensitivity to criticism. With a narcissist, even mild disagreement can set them off. They see conversations in black and white. You're either with them or against them. So if you offer a different perspective or ask a clarifying question or simply don't give full agreement, they're going to take it as an attack. That reaction is often way out of proportion to what was actually said. If you're an empathetic person, you're going to feel that sensitivity right away, and without realizing it, you might start tiptoeing, avoiding conflict, or nodding along just to keep the peace. But that costs you valuable information. How they handle pushback tells you everything. If you don't speak up, you'll never see their real capacity for respect. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, I don't really like sushi, or I'm more into country music. To most people, that's just preference. But with a narcissist, they're going to hit back. They're going to say something like, you don't know what you're talking about, or that's ridiculous, or no, you're wrong. The only choice is. The point isn't to share their view. It's to make sure that you know that yours is the wrong one and to put you back in your place. Other times, instead of attacking, they're going to agree with everything you say. And this gets confusing because it kind of feels fine at first. But when you listen closely, you're going to notice that the agreement was shallow. They're not adding anything real. They're just mirroring you, trying to pull you back into alignment. And that's just the flip side of the same coin. Whether they argue or they over-agree, the root problem is the same. They can't tolerate having a difference there. Narcissists can't stand other options existing alongside theirs. If you're not aligned with their view, they're going to experience it as a threat. So your different taste in food or music or choices challenges the fragile story they tell themselves that they're right, superior, and in control. So instead of accepting differences, they're going to either crush it or try to erase it with false agreement. So when you're dealing with someone who treats disagreement like an attack, you need a way to see if they can let you be your own person. And that's what I call the perspective check. All you do is share a small preference of your own. Then you invite theirs. For example, I might say, I really love the Avett Brothers. What kind of music do you like? Sometimes a narcissist will quickly agree with you, like I said, and it feels nice at first, but it's often love bombing, an over-the-top agreement or flattery meant to pull you in closer. The way to check this is to slightly shift. Mention another band or another style you enjoy. If they instantly switch and gush about that one too without offering anything real of their own, That's not agreement. It's mirroring to keep you hooked. Or other times, they'll feel threatened by your difference, and instead of respecting your taste, they'll dismiss it or argue with you to make sure that you know that you're wrong. Both reactions are telling. A healthy person can hear your perspective, share their own, and still be comfortable with the difference. A narcissist either over-agrees to pull you in or shuts you down because they can't handle you being separate. Thanks for watching. YouTube thinks you're going to like this video on screen right here. That's the one. Click it. Learn even more about spotting narcissists and protecting yourself against manipulation so you can live the life you deserve. I'll see you over there. Okay, bye.